I will build this world from love. Yada da 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 yada da da. And you must build this world from love. Yada da 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 yada da da. And if we build this world from love, yada da. Then God will build this world from love. Yada da 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 yada da.
We go through our year pursuing our professions, maybe our preoccupations, caring for family and friends as best we can. We live out the seasons knowing, even though the springtime air smells sweet, the rain and snow come eventually. Life gets dark, damp, cold. Yet standing here at the frontier of a new calendar year, what we recognize is that even the hardest struggles have a glimpse of hope. Even in the darkness, there is light. In her notes on hope, one of my favorite writers, Anne Lamott, tries to name it. So what's a good nickname for a positive force greater than ourselves, bigger than we can imagine, way bigger than we're comfortable with, greater than we can hope for, deeper than we can fall? Sometimes I believe we're here in this world and God lives upstairs, but others that we exist on a horizontal axis, running from past to present to future, tracing with a lot more faith than we can muster the divine plan as it unfolds. I wish good things lasted forever, she writes, but God is a lot more subtle than I'm comfortable with. Yet, anytime you encounter kindness and generosity, patience and human care, somehow you are in the presence of God. That's how ordinary and accessible this unnameable force can be. In the midst of any mundane moment or terrible day, right there, ready to share. Whatever we call it, our awareness makes life not alone livable, but helps us remember what really matters and what a divine difference we each can make, no matter what tomorrow might bring.
Olam chesed yibaneh, yada da 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 yada da da. Olam chesed yibaneh, yada da 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 yada da da. Olam chesed yibaneh, yada da. Yada da 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 yada da da. Yada da 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 yada da da. Yada da.
on page 120, we kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
As we turn the page, we rise for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. How sweet and wonderful it is that we are here together atop page 128.
Hine ma tovu manaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manaim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manaim. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manaim. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tov. shevet achim gam yachad. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manaim. shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manaim. shevet achim gam yachad.
On 142, we welcome those Shabbos angels with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moachem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש Baruch Hu.
Welcoming the Sabbath bride on 138. Remember at that last verse, we turn to the rear door not to face Steve Lehman, but to face the radiant presence of Shabbat. The truth is, we see it on each other. So we'll take a moment after that verse to greet one another, to say a Shabbat Shalom, to let everyone know you're glad they're here. L'chadodi.
Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad hishmianu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet ve'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesu chasof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri ki va'orech kumi ori uri shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom atere ba'ala gam besimcha u'v'tzola toch emune am segula. Boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela.
All I can tell you is that these Jews can talk. I will tell you right now. As we remain standing, about to transition to the Baruch Hu on 146.
They're still talking.
They're still talking. They're still talking.
Hey, you want to go for coffee?
You know what?
Maybe they'll be done by then.
As we transition back to the Baruch,
Nope. Maybe I should just start singing.
of what is our prayer urging us to be aware? Take Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa's teaching as your guide. When you ease your neighbor's heart, you make heaven smile. Our call to prayer.
Yai, dai, dai, yai, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, dai, yai, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, dai. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai.
On 149 together in the middle. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai.
Ma'ariv. Arabim. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Emet. Rabbi Chaim Stern's prayer yearning for spiritual freedom paves our path through the sea. Others may call me free, but I know I am bound. I am hungry for your word. Feed me. Thirsty to know life's meaning. Give me to drink. Painful ignorance wounds me day after day. Heal me. With imperfect love, I cannot always make myself known. Give wings to my heart. Then I shall know I am free. On page 158.
Yai dai dai da dai da 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 yai dai dai da dai da 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 yai dai da dai da yai dai ya da dai yai da dai da yai da 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 mi chamocha ba elim Adonai mi chamocha ne'etar b'kodesh nora tehilot osei feleh nora tehilot osei feleh malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam ze'eli anu ve'amru ze'eli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Yai dai dai da dai da 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 dai Yai dai dai da dai da 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 dai Yai dai da dai dai Yai dai ya da dai Yai dai 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 Yai dai 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 dai
An alternate Hashkivenu atop 161.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, L'Shalom. V'ha'amidenu, Shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, L'Shalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, L'Shalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Vishamru atop 162.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
About to rise for a silent tefillah after we share Adonai Sfatai, O God, open my lips. Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds us what the inner struggle of prayer really is all about. God offers to every human mind its choice between truth and repose. Take whichever you please, but you can never have both. We rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechu Shalom Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechu Shalom V'tuv b'necha Levarich et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Ben Steinberg, right? Our hopes for healing persist even in the face of pain and sickness and struggle. Nobody is freed from pain in this world. We're all a little bit broken. And those among us for whom we pray, maybe they're right here, some of us know the hope keeps us going. It holds us up. We rise.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We especially call to mind at this moment of prayer for healing Ken Goldstein, Paul Millman, Nancy Hanley, Marlo Wiggins, Dick Stone, Hannah Stampleman, Enid Elton, Jody Kahn, Stanley Tereski, Bob Glassman, Andy Rosenthal, Sandy Warshaw, June Foreman, Paul Wiggins, Joseph Spinelli, Harriet Katz, Samuel Philip Blair, Pat Ryan, Jerry Gallner, Ian Spear, Julie Ross, Megan Kearney Bailey, Dan Zimmerman, my son Aaron, Tyler Grad, Alan Grad, Joanne Tobin, Evelyn Silberg, Jonathan Glassman, Shari Benny Shai, Marvin Weiss, Abby Zatoon, Michael Schur, Renee Leopold, Ruth Barron, Brad Dembski, Peggy Mann, Drew Olean, Josh Olean, Carol Feldman, Joel Brill, Karen Mansler, Sam Abrash, Ben Myers, Judah Luria, and Stephen Stampleman. Anyone here add a name in hopes of healing?
מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. No. We're going to get people to hand them out. Are you kidding me? Come on. No. No, I didn't run. I definitely stood up. Really? I don't have any more. Come on. Are you serious? What did you all be showing up tonight? I can't believe it. Share. All right. So, this is this is Paul Sharkey's bar mitzvah portion, and not to put him on the spot, but he's going to do the Haftarah in a minute. No, I'm kidding. So this is the big reveal, as we know. This is the classic Vayigash, and it often happens during Hanukkah. It's now right after, but it is the moment when Joseph says, "I am Joseph, his father's still well," and his brothers basically faint, fall down, can't believe it. But there's a bigger revelation, a much greater secret that Joseph shares in the midst of the portion as they are about to leave Egypt before they go back and tell Dad the big news that could be even more revelatory and is the revelation that we need, especially as we go into the new year. It's all in one line, but you would otherwise miss it if you weren't a very careful Hebrew reader, right? It says, Vayishalach et echav, so he sent his brothers off, Vayilchu, and so they went. Vayomer alehim, as they were going, he said to them, Al tirgezu baderech, do not argue on the way. You would think that's, basic. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, great mystic, tries to give us a whole bunch of different responses.
As they were leaving, he said to them, have a pleasant journey, that is, do not have agitation along the way. This can be interpreted as do not have any discomfort, or do not fear along the way, or do not get into trouble along the way, or do not rush too much on the way.
So all of these are worthy, but none of them capture it because the preposition ba is the key. In Hebrew, a single letter can transform the meaning, right? So what happens with the Kotzker Rebbe, Menachem Mendel of Kotz, the great melancholy rabbi and great teacher of Hasidism in the late 18th century, late 19th century, I should say? He understands al tirgezu baderech as meaning something different, which he could. The Kotzker.
The text says that as they left, Joseph said to them, do not quarrel along the way. Yet, baderech can also be with. For this reason, what Joseph was really saying was, the hour of your destination has been appointed on high. If you hurry it, you will only be delayed in some other way. So do not quarrel with the way, for it has already been sent for you.
Right, doesn't matter. Sent, right? So,
Set.
Ba can mean on, in, or with. B can be with. So the Kotzker is saying, it doesn't mean don't argue on the way. It means don't quarrel with the way. What the heck does that mean? Well, it implies something that my teacher, my fifth year of rabbinic school, I had one of the most, my fourth and fifth year, one of the most transformational teachers I ever had, Rabbi Larry Kushner. And Kushner, who was really the great spiritual guru, neo-mystic, interpreted all of the mystical texts. When I teach mysticism, which I just did with confirmation for 4 weeks, kids didn't miss. We really use Kushner as the basis of it all. Kushner, you would think, would be this sort of esoteric, uplifted, right? Kushner talked like this: Shirkman, don't give me that crap. Right? Kushner was like a, like sort of a Detroit cab driver. But brilliant, right? We can pick it up on, right? He's going to tell us that everybody fails to notice what's really happening. All the players remain stuck in their own convictions that no one is running anything but themselves. All of them are busy trying to manipulate the outcome of this apparently godless plot. And they are all literally dumbfounded. This week, Joseph figures it out. Go ahead, pick it up at that last paragraph.
Joseph, watching events from a high enough plane of vision, sees his brothers, remembers his dreams, his father's dotage, listens as Judah finally draws near, and realizes that something else has been going on all along. Suddenly, the whole thing is clear. It was not you, he tells his brothers, who sent me here, but God. He, in effect, says, this is just the way things were meant to be from the very beginning. Now I understand that everything has to be the way God had intended it all along. It's all been set up. But what could this mean?
As Jews, we don't really buy into predestination. Free will is essential. But we sort of do. Or, to an extent, we understand. In the Mishnah, it says, Hakol Safui, everything is preordained, v'harashut nituna, yet free will is given. Which sounds like a contradiction, as some of you are shaking your heads and saying, I think the rabbi's a little nuts. Maybe not. Go ahead, keep it up with that.
Surely?
Yeah, surely.
Surely. Most of us believe in free will and in the importance of taking responsibility for our own actions. Unfortunately, for logical consistency, most of us have also known moments when we felt as if we were permitted to survey our lives from such a high place that our freedom was revealed to be illusory. Such moments are as fleeting as they are awesome. They often coincide with great religious passages of life like a bar or a bat mitzvah, marriage, or God forbid, death. We realize that we are part of something much larger than our daily decisions. With or without our consent, we, too, were players in a kind of divine scheme. Of course, it's preposterous, and it makes no rational sense. But for just a moment or two, it is as if we rise to encounter our destiny. It was not you who sent me here, but God. God is in the world as our unconscious is to our everyday lives, quietly, invisibly, secretly guiding our steps, unifying everything we do. We are chastened to realize that when we thought an accident, what we thought was an accident, was in truth the hand of God. Most of the time, we are simply unaware. Awareness takes too much effort, and besides, it's more fun to pretend we are running the show. But every now and then, we understand for just a moment that God has been along and been involved in everything. Nowadays, the sacred usually masquerades as a coincidence. We become aware of something great, a greater network. I love this. A greater network of which we suddenly seem to have been a part of all along. We can have the strange sensation of knowing why we were where we were years ago. We can suddenly sense the presence of a network of mutual interdependence binding us to one another. Or we can simply be shocked to discover that what we have been doing fits into some larger purpose. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
That's enough, that's great, yeah. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. So what do you make of this? I'll tell you who takes this to the next level is Rabbi Larry Hoffman, our temple member and the foremost teacher of Jewish liturgy, rite, and ritual over the past 50 years at Hebrew Union College. Hoffman just turned 80, by the way. Got his PhD when he was 29, right? And has been teaching literally for almost 50 years. Hoffman understands the act of Jewish spirituality as the act of connecting the dots, of looking back on a life or a year or a week and recognizing how what seem disparate events somehow link. We've all been in that place, but most of the time we don't take the time to recognize it. We've all been in a moment when we realize, I know you. Or we reflect with a cousin or a friend at a shiva or a bar mitzvah, and we realize, wait a minute, we just experienced the same thing 20 years ago and we never talked about it, and we're talking about it now? And now you're telling me something about my father that I never knew? So there is perhaps a greater scheme being played out. Mena. In fact, he does, in my notes on the other page, that's exactly what I wrote. Right? It's not written here, but he does. His book is called Invisible Lines of Connection, which is his reflections on different essays on Jewish spirituality. But Kushner understands that there's a web of being. I call it the Matrix. Right? Right? Anybody who hasn't seen the film The Matrix, that is your Shabbos homework. You should go home and watch it. Right? It means that we are supposed to be with the people we are with. And sometimes these are not people who are master teachers in our lives or the surgeons doing the operation. They're the doorman or the guy we buy the newspaper from or the guy at the corner store that I always talk to and I never remember his name, et cetera, et cetera. But everybody somehow gives us a little piece of the puzzle. Minna. Yeah, the same things are somehow beshared, right, Paul?
So I'm going to stand up for this one.
Oh, I can't wait. Wait, hold on 1 second. I'll sit down.
Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. So it's a coincidence that I'm here tonight. Jill called me. She said, oh, I just found out I'm ushering tonight. Let's go. So on the way here, I pick up, I read the Temple Weekly Bulletin. I said, oh, hey, gosh, I think that's mine. And I did what I've done once before. I Google January 6, 1979 Torah portion, and sure it is. My gosh. But the coincidence. So this year, the last night of Hanukkah fell on Christmas. The last day of Hanukkah fell on Christmas. I've read from Vayigash twice in my life in a house of worship. The first was on my bar mitzvah. The second, we used to be members, Jill and I, also of Larchmont Avenue Church, and I met Reverend Bill even before we were active in the church there. And at one point on Father's Day, he said, Paul, I'd like you to do the Old Testament reading. So Sunday morning, I wake up, I start looking at it, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty familiar. So my Old Testament reading at Larchmont Avenue Church was my Torah portion. And I told that story there. So, coincidence is God's way.
Of staying anonymous, no question, no question. So we all have little points of connection, and most of the time it's just hindsight. Most of the time it's only in retrospect that people and things come into view. But what Joseph understands that none of them understand is that, indeed, all the sorrows we're going through, all the challenges we face, all the wonderful moments we have, all the annoying people that are part of our lives, sometimes part of our families, all the tough stuff our kids go through, do we say everything happens for a reason? Yeah, maybe, but it's part of some greater plan, you can call it, some drama being played out, and we're not always aware. So I share this with you, especially before the new year, to maybe make you aware as you go into the new year. A little more attuned to the people around you, a little more open-hearted to those you don't know, a little more gracious and patient with kids, right? Hopefully kids with parents too. But to just attune you to the fact that there is some greater schema unfolding. And we're all part of it. And somehow in it, we're all connected. Great story, Paul. I think we're on the Aleinu.
We are.
We rise on 586 for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tekeru la'liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu koreim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol ha'aretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, Ushemo echad.
At this transition moment between one year and the next, between this life journey and whatever comes next, an anonymous poem can help us understand the impact of our own time, our own life journeys, through the prism of those we remember and love. I learn as the years roll onward and I leave the past behind, that much had I counted sorrow, but proved that God is kind. That many a flower I'd longed for had hidden a thorn of pain, and many a rugged bypath led to fields of ripened grain. The clouds that cover the sunshine, they cannot banish the sun, and the earth shines out the brighter when the weary rain is done. We must stand in the deepest shadow to see the clearest light, and often, through life's own darkness, comes the welcome strength of right. Remembering the promise and pain of the journeys that their legacy leaves, we make sacred, consecrate the yortzites observed, especially those in Shloshim who've left us so recently. Of Tom Bird, father of Jeff and Jonathan, grandfather of Samuel and Estelle, step-grandfather of Madeline and Lily, predeceased by his first wife, Barbara, and his second wife, Joan Albin. Adele Gasworth, grandma of Jason, Wendy, Howard, Stacy, and Brad, great-grandma of 9, including Morgan and Elliot. Barry Sachs, husband of Evelyn, father of Deborah Moss and Darren, Randy Schwartz and Todd, and Merrill, grandfather of Ethan, Julia, Alyssa, Stephanie, Ariel, Matthew, Kyla, and Ryan. Stephen Radding, husband of Phyllis, father of Jill, Godin, and Jonathan, grandfather of Madeline, Eliza, Ari, August, and Asa. Tom Tugend, husband of Rachel, father of Orly, Alina, and Ronit, grandfather of 8, great-grandfather of 1. And Rita Kreisberg, aunt of Amy Kreisberg, along with Isaac Setigorsky, father of Sam. Together with those names, the yortzites observed on this Shabbat, we call by name Joseph Schenkerman, Robert Sears, Janice Dietz Madoff, Betty Camlet, Avram Hurwitz, Barry Bass, Belina Vitali, Jeannie Feinstein, Rabbi of Larchmont Temple for 9 years, Morris Kurtzer, Rose Schulman, Helen Zabo, Ben Dorff, J. George Bendon, Donald Nathan, Dr. George Escher, Pauline Steinman, Jacob Gostin, Jacques Landau, Harold David Rubin, Arnie Turtz, Theodore Lipton, Marty Gottesfeld, Hyman Chapnick, Robert Mahler, Rabbi Milton C. Rabinowitz, Francis Lieberman, David Sadowski, Regina Stein, Roberta Ross, Frida Medali Fleischman, Jacob Cohen, Lottie Alderson, Adolf Pusrin, Elizabeth Nadler, William Fleischer, Irving Dichter, Ruth Cohn, Zachary Berg, Joseph Roth, Elise Froelich, Edith Frankel, Bertha Rothman, Johanna Singer, Edja Jacobson, Esther Blum, Samuel Belkin, Oscar Zathmari, Morris F. Solomon, Bernice Mandel, Peter Zeiler, Retta Bank, George M. Felton, Rose Yanoff, Ida Rosanoff, and the inimitable Cantor Edward Graham. Would anyone here add a name in sacred remembrance? Sanctifying their memories, remembering their love. We join together in words of Kaddish on 598. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah be'alma divrach herutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho be'Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam olam maya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yidaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha barichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'ami ran ba'alma v'imru amen Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom bimromav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be our blessing. Amen.
Shalom. I'm Steve Lehman, and I have absolutely no idea what my bar mitzvah portion was. And I don't even know how to Google it, so, we're okay. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to welcome everybody to joining us this lovely Shabbat night, the last one of 2022. Thanks to our clergy, as always, for a wonderful and beautiful service, and to our musical accompaniment, making this Kabbalat Shabbat really very special. I hope everyone was able to get a good seat. I know it was tough tonight. But everyone's in their favorite spots, I can tell right now, which is great. Just a few announcements. I'm not going to cover all of 2023. We'll just do it week by week as we go. But the few things that are coming up soon. Next week for Shabbat, very family-oriented. We've got little tots, PJs and stuffed animals edition with a special service at 5, followed by a dinner. And then for the slightly older kids, K through 7, and I'm talking to people out there in TV land, hopefully, who might want to attend, a dinner followed by Shabbat. So if you come for Shabbat next week, you will see a very youthful, hopeful service mix of people. And then, really want to make sure that everyone's keeping their eyes out. 2 weeks on the calendar, we have our yearly event with Straight Gate, celebrating Larchmont Temple and Reverend Martin Luther King, and doing it together with Straight Gate in sort of a home and home series. Where Friday night we do the Shabbat service, and they join us for that. And then Sunday we will host their church service here in Larchmont Temple, and get to enjoy all of the things that they celebrate, and wonderful music and wonderful preaching. And if you haven't been, strongly encourage you to come. It is really a spectacular event and a real joining together. So, with no further ado, I will wish everybody a happy New Year. We've already done the sweet New Year, so now we get to have the happy one coming up on the secular calendar. I hope you have a peaceful time, and hope to see you all next week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We're going traditional, folks. We are on page 625. But hold on to your hats.
As we rise.
Adon olam asher malach v'terem kol yetzir nivra leit naso v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado imloch no
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Wait, what was that? Like the fish? What's that? What's that? Beautiful. I'm glad it took a minute and a half of explanation under